Okay, guys, so here is a quick review, kind of a tailor-made review for the test coming up. It says there are 25 pieces of candy in a bowl, and 15 of them are chocolate candies. What percentage of the candy are chocolate candies? And it also gives you a reference to your book if you want to look at that as well. So let's go ahead and work on this. There's a few different ways we can solve this, and we're going to look at all of them. Okay, so the first one we're going to do is utilizing a ratio table. We have part is 15, that's the 15 chocolate candies, and the whole amount is the total number of candies in the bowl. Well, at this point, anytime we were trying to get a percentage, we need to get it out of 100. Well, let's just do the whole amount as 100. 25 times what gives you 100? The answer is 4. So if you're going to do times 4 on this side, you're going to have to do times 4 on this side. So what is 15 times 4? It's kind of a mess there. 15 times 4 is 60. So there's our answer, 60 out of 100, which is 60%. So that is one way to do it, but there's also a quick shortcut method that we are going to look at as well. Okay, the shortcut method is simply this. You put the small or the part on top. Sure, why I did it that way, and then on the bottom we put the whole amount. Okay, at that point we just try to find a fraction that has 100 in it, which is kind of what we just did before. 25 times 4 again is 100. 15 times 4 is 60. So clearly the answer is 60%. All right, and there is yet another way. All right, and then yet a third way to do this is just put 15 over 25. Anytime you have that, you can turn a fraction into a decimal by dividing the denominator into the numerator. If you do that, 15 divided by 25 is 0.6. At that point, all we have to do to change something to a percent is multiply by 100, because percent means per 100. If we multiply 0.6 times 100, we just move the decimal over 2 places to the right, which then ends up being 60%. So we showed you 3 of multiple different ways that you can get a percentage when you have the part, okay, which would be 15, and the whole amount, which is 25. Right, so our second one here says select all the trips that would take 3 hours. So drive 80 miles per hour down I-15 towards Las Vegas and stop for dinner after 240 miles. Okay, so will it take 3 hours to go 240 miles? Is basically what this is asking. If we are going 80 miles per hour. Well, there's a couple of different ways we can do this. We can just do 240 divided by 80. So 240 divided by 80 is 3, because 8 goes into 24 3 times, and then the zeros kind of cancel out in a way. So you could do that way, or you could just do 80 times 3, see if that works. So 80 times 3, well, what is 80 times 3? 240. So yeah, this one works. Okay, so A will actually work so far. Let's look at the next one. It says walk 3 miles per hour to school, which is 1 mile away. Well, if you're going 3 miles per 1 hour and you're going 3 hours, that would be 3 times 3, which is 9 miles. So you will have traveled 9 miles in 3 hours, which means you will have gotten to the school and passed it by 8 miles. So B is no good in this situation. And then the last one, it says take a plane with an average speed of 550 miles per hour to go 1,650 miles. So once again, we can do 1,650 and just divide it by 550 and see what happens. And if you do divide those two, you're going to end up with 3. Okay, so with that being the case, this one does work also. Or once again, what you could have done was done 550 times 3 and see if you got 1,650, and that would work as well. So the answer to 2 is A and C would both take 3 hours, but B would not. All right, so Lynn's family has completed 80% of a trip Okay, so it's not 100% of the trip yet. So they're not finished, obviously, and they traveled 400 miles. So 400 miles is 80%. So there's still another 20% of the trip to go. It says, how far is the trip in total? Well, it's going to have to be over 400 miles. So let's set something up and see if we can figure this out. Right, so we set up this ratio table. 80%, okay, would be written as 80 out of 100, right? So that 80 is the part of the whole amount and 100% is the whole amount. We know that 400 miles is not the whole trip. Okay, so with that being the case, the 400 is going to go in the part column. So then we gotta have to just basically see 80 times what? Or can we scale up 80 to get the 400? Well, that would be times 5, right? 80 times 5, because 8 times 5 is 40, and then put the 0 there. So then we do the same thing with 100. Of course, 100 times 5 is going to be 500. So if they traveled 80% of the trip and got through 400 miles, to get to the next 20%, they're going to end up doing a total of 500 miles. Okay, so that would be your answer for that one. And there's other ways to do it, but I just wanted to kind of show this approach so that you can utilize it in the future if you would like. Right, so we have 3 parts to this next one. It says Lynn runs 3 laps around a track in 8 minutes. So I set up my ratio table here. We got laps and minutes. It says how many minutes per lap. Okay, well then we need to get per lap, which means we need to get this down to 1. Well, to do that, you have to divide by 3. Okay, so we're going to divide by 3 in both cases here. So divide by 3. All right, there we go. So, and then if you do 8 divided by 3, you're going to end up with 2.6 and then a repeating decimal forever. So I'm going to just make it 2.7 and round it. Okay, so basically per lap is going to take 2.7 minutes. How many minutes per lap is that? Well, 2.7 minutes. All right, and then the next one, it says how many laps per minute is that? Okay, so how many laps per minute? So we have to do per 1 minute. Okay, so we have to get down to 1. Well, in this situation, to get from 8 down to 1, we're going to have to divide by 8, right? So that's the only way to get down to 1. So we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to divide by 8. And if you do 3 divided by 8, we're obviously going to get a decimal, which is, well, you can actually make it 3/8. Okay, that's the fraction. But the decimal would be 0.375. Okay, so I kind of ran out of room to keep it on this side, so it should be over here, 0.375. So that's how much of a lap they're going to get done, 0.375, or 3/8 of a lap each time. So how many laps per minute? So in 1 minute, a 0.375 or 3/8 of a lap. I keep trying to say 3/5, but 3/8. Okay. So if Lynn runs 20 laps at the same rate, how long does it take her? Well, the rate that we have is, let's see, 2.7 minutes per lap. Okay, so for 20 laps, you're just going to take 2.7, because that's how many minutes it is, times 20. And if you do 2.7 times 20, you actually just come up with the whole number of 54. So how long does it take her? So it's going to take 54 minutes. I guess I should label that 54 minutes. So 2.7 times 20 is 54 minutes. That's how long it will take her to do 20 laps. All right. So we did all 3 parts of it just utilizing this ratio table here, and we can answer each one of them. All right, off to the next one. Okay, so this is a super fast one. It says a pilot is planning a flight time and looks at previous flight information to plan his travel time. Well, there you go. In a half an hour, you go 225. In an hour, you go 550. An hour and a half, you go 775 miles. And in 2 hours, you go 1,110. Well, they are traveling at a constant pace. So every single one of these has the same ratio. If you multiply this by a half and do this times a half, or basically if you double a half and get one, you double this and get 550. You double um, one and get two, you double this and get 110. You do one half times three, you got that. This times three is that. So anything that you try to do, it's going to make it an equivalent ratio. So assuming the plane travels at a constant speed, what is the speed? That's what we're being asked. What is the speed? Well, that's going to be a quick answer. It's going to fly at 550 miles per hour. That's it. That's the answer. Okay, for this one, it says, which weighs more, a purple mattress that weighs 110 pounds or an eighth grade boy that weighs 51 kilograms? So I went ahead and set this up. You can see that there's 1 pound is 0.45 as far as kilograms. And then this is the mattress side. This is the boy, how much the boy weighs. So we know the mattress weighs 110 pounds. So I put it there. So what does it take to get from 1 to 110? Well, multiply it by 110. And if you do that to the 0.45, you end up with 45, or actually 49.5. 49.5. So that's interesting. So if the mattress is 110 pounds, the boy would have to be 49.5 pounds, which is actually less than what the boy weighs. So that's probably meaning that the boy is heavier. But just to make sure, let's see what it is. If since we know that the boy weighs 51 kilograms, what would we take to get from 0.45 to 51? Well, you just take 51 divided by 0.45. It ends up being 113.3. So we're going to multiply this side by 113.3. Of course, anything times 1. Okay, so 1 times 113.3 would be 113.3. So the boy is 51 kilograms. The mattress would have to be 113 to match that. So, and that's heavier. So in this situation, the boy is the heavier of the two. Okay, last one here. I've filled in a lot of the information already, where it says Elena and Jada are 25 miles apart on a path, and they're walking towards each other. One is going 6 miles per hour, and the other one is going 4 miles per hour. So basically, since they're coming towards each other, and you combine 6 and 4, that would be 10 miles per hour total. So basically, for each hour, they're going to cover 10 miles. So if you had 25 miles, well, in 2 hours, that'd be 20 miles. And then you would need another 5 miles, which is half of 10. So half of that time would then be the remainder of it. So it would take them basically 2.5 hours to do this, right? So if they're going 10 miles an hour and they're going 25 miles, 10 goes into 25 2.5 times. I also put this chart down here where it says elapsed time and then distance apart. So for the first hour, Elena went 6, Jada went 10 or 4, so 6 plus 4 is 10 miles. So they have 15 miles to go yet. So then after an hour and a half, Elena went 9, Jada went 6. Okay, so that's 15. So now they have 10 miles to go and so on. You can kind of see how the rest of this works. So in 2 hours, 12 and 8, which is 20, which means they still have 5 miles to go. And then after 2.5 hours, 15 and 10, so that they made it. So the answer to this one is for 25 miles, it's going to take them 2.5 hours to travel 25 miles so that they can be right there with each other. And that's how you would figure that. All right, that's all of the review. Good luck.